Isaiah chapter 29, verses 11 through 14. And the vision of all this has become to you like the words of a book that is sealed. When men give it to one who can read, saying, "Read this," he says, "I cannot, for it is sealed." And when they give the book to one who cannot read, saying, "Read this," he says, "I cannot read." And Yahweh said, "Because this people draw near me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, while their hearts are far from me, and their fear of me is a commandment of men learned by rote. Therefore, behold, I will again do marvelous things with this people, wonderful and marvelous, and the wisdom of their wise men will perish, and the discernment of their discerning men will be hid." Remember, the secret things belong to Yahweh our Elohim, but the things that are revealed belong to us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. Surely Yahweh Elohim does nothing without revealing his secret to his servants, the prophets. So now we will begin the opening of the seals and the unsealing of the book. So let's go to Revelation chapter 5, verses 1 through 5. And it says, "And I saw in the right hand of him who was seated on the throne a scroll written within and on the back, sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, 'Who is worthy to open the scroll and break its seals?' And no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth was able to open the scroll or to look into it. And I wept much that no one was found worthy to open the scroll or to look into it. Then one of the elders said to me, 'Weep not. Lo, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has conquered, so that he can open the scroll and its 7 seals.'" So for the first one, we'll go to Revelation chapter 6, verses 1 through 2, and it says, "Now I saw when the Lamb opened one of the 7 seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures say, as with the voice of thunder, 'Come!' And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and its rider had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer." Found in Zechariah chapter 6, this seal represents the will of Yahweh that strives with the will of man, yet is victorious every time. There is a divine purpose for the all, and every effect is sparked by a cause. Every intent we have is motivated by something and fuels everything that we experience the very moment of its inception. Our heart's intention should be pure, rooted in love, and we should be whole. This way, our desires do not conflict with Yahweh's, and we are aligned in harmony with our nature. A second witness to this seal, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 2. "A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted." We have just unsealed the seed of Yahweh. For the second one, we'll go to Revelation chapter 6, verses 3 through 4. "When he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, 'Come,' and out came another horse, bright red. Its rider was permitted to take peace from the earth, so that men should only slay one another, and he was given a great sword." This seal can also be found in Zechariah, but in chapter 1. This seal represents the messengers of Yahweh manifested as life phenomena who deliver his word faithfully. The peace that is taken is our very own contentment. Our peace is disturbed in order to bring attention to something important that we would otherwise ignore or avoid. Similar to when we feel internal pain in our bodies, it's not just our bodies punishing us so that we suffer, but it is to get our mind's attention to something that needs to be addressed, and we must take the necessary steps mentally and physically to heal. The slaying of one another is the eliminating the carnal, egotistic, and parasitic thinking for a more spiritual, altruistic, and humble mindset. This is a process in a war within ourselves as individuals. A second witness to this seal. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 3. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. We have just unsealed the beginning of Yahweh's wisdom. For the third one, we'll go to Revelation chapter 6, verses 5 through 6. When he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come." And I saw, and behold, a black horse, and its rider had a balance in his hand. And I heard what seemed to be a voice in the midst of the four living creatures, saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, but do not harm oil and wine." Also found in Zechariah chapter 6, the third seal, which unveils a black horse with the balance, represents our ability to discern the difference between thinking with our bodies versus thinking with our spirit. We may encounter numerous scenarios in life that appear as resistance, traumatic, or simply challenging. Sometimes we allow negative perspectives of those scenarios to stick with us and blame other negative things that occur in our lives on those unfortunate events. Instead, we should be drawing from what we perceive as negative the value it has and the lessons it brings, and counting it as a gift of wisdom, because that is how we learn discernment. With this approach, we find gratitude in even the toughest of times, because not only do we receive the gift of discernment, but we receive the word of Yahweh when we adhere to what he is calling us to discern. A second witness to this seal. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 4. A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. We have just unsealed the beginning of Yahweh's understanding. Now for the fourth one, we'll go to Revelation chapter 6, verses 7 through 8, and it says, When he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, "Come." And I saw, and behold, a pale horse, and his rider name was Death, and Hades followed him. And they were given power over a fourth of the earth, to kill with sword, and with famine, and with pestilence, and by wild beasts of the earth. Found in Zechariah chapter 6, this seal represents the result of not adhering to what Yahweh is calling us to discern. We have free will and we can use it as we choose. However, in using the free will, we have made a choice which can go in opposition to a divine plan for the preservation of our lives. When we adhere to Yahweh's will, then we discover a symphony of phenomena where all things align for us in truth and revelation. When we use our free will and become opposition to the divine path, we ourselves become Satan, an adversary. Our dominion is minimal because selfish pride is a sign of ignorance, and desire for truth is humble and yet confidently stands tall. Wisdom is ever growing in perpetuity, and when we reject what Yahweh is giving us through wisdom, then we reject the life that he has given us to live. A second witness to this seal is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 5. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. We have just unsealed the beginning of Yahweh's knowledge. And for the fifth seal, we'll go to Revelation chapter 6, verses 9 through 11. When he opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain for the word of Elohim and for the witness they had borne. They cried out with a loud voice, "O sovereign Lord, set apart and true, how long before you will judge and avenge our blood on those who live upon the earth?" Then they were each given a white robe and told to rest a little longer, until the number of their fellow servants and their brethren should be complete, who were to be killed as they themselves had been. Found in Psalms 44, this seal represents the servants of Elohim who endure the hardships, traumas, and vexation that life throws them in order to extract the most precious jewels of wisdom and knowledge. In that extraction, there is pressure, temptation, and resistance that seems unbearable to withstand. However, in their hearts lies a strong trust, confidence, and zeal for their perseverance, knowing that they are doing righteously in their judgments and extending their faithful love and truth. They are witnesses to the secrets of Yahweh and how he rules creation, and are delivered at the precipice of a circumstance for his name's sake, because he desires righteousness to the very end. A second witness to this seal, Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verses 6. A time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away. We have just unsealed the beginning of Yahweh's mercy. And for the sixth seal, we'll go to Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17. When he opened the sixth seal, I looked, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth, the full moon became like blood, and the stars of the sky fell to the earth. As the fig tree sheds its winter fruit when shaken by a gale, the sky vanished like a scroll that is rolled up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Then the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the generals, and the rich, and the strong, and every one, slave and free, hid in the caves, and among the rocks of the mountains, calling to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him who is seated and on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who can stand before it? Found in Isaiah chapter 2 and Joel chapter 2, we see Yahweh's indignation exemplified with harsh judgments. This represents the judgments made for recompense of one's deeds, desires, and fears. When mercy doesn't protect us from fierce correction, then we are exposed to the fury of the Most High. His fury manifests as stumbling blocks that force us to face our faults in order to heal us of our impurities. This judgment exists to regulate the energy of the planet, solar system, and universe in and all around us. We exist in a complex system of ultrasound energy identified as the Word of God. This energy is algorithmic in nature and operates based on a set of principles that govern all that exists within it. Guilt emerges from fear and has its own sound and energy properties identifiable in the etheric. Many of us fear judgment in society and fall short of righteousness in our attempt to escape its grasp. A second witness to this seal, Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 7. A time to reap and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. We have just unsealed the beginning of Yahweh's power. And for the seventh seal, we'll go to Revelation chapter 8 verses 1 through 5. When the Lamb opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. Then I saw the 7 angels who stand before Elohim, and 7 trumpets were given to him. And another angel came and stood at the altar with a golden censer, and he was given much incense to mingle with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar before the throne. And the smoke of the incense rose with the prayers of the saints from the hand of the angel before Elohim. Then the angel took the censer and filled it with fire from the altar and threw it on the earth. And there were peals of thunder, voices, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. Found in Numbers chapter 16, we see a rebellion against the higher ways of Yahweh in order to preserve a lifestyle of contentment and self-righteousness. This is symbolic of mankind leaning toward their own understanding of life's phenomena and the consequences of their ignorance. They are given their own heart's desire to their detriment. Many times we are our own stumbling block, and despite good deeds, we are not wholly joined in our heart and mind, and unknowingly attract and repel experiences we may or may not need for spiritual growth. However, Yahweh does not forsake us and lures us to the righteous path using wisdom. The thunder is the word of Yahweh, the lightning is his will, and the earthquake is the vexation to provoke us. The seven angels and seven trumpets represents the seven virtues and seven abominations found in Jeremiah chapter 7 and Proverbs chapter 6. The number 7 is a sign of completion, and between each number from 1 to 7 are 6 hidden spaces of potential difference, which leaves the number 7 at the tail end, completing the pattern. This is also related to the 6 days of work and rest on the 7th. The number 6 is symbolic for conditioning or refashioning what already exists. This does not replace the existent 6, but instead manifests a replica of the existent 6, thus creating two halves of a whole, which altogether are 12. This will also reveal the additional 7, giving us a total of 14, which are all found in Ezekiel chapter 18. The number 14 reveals to us 13 spaces, total potential difference. A second witness to this seal, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 8. A time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. We have just unsealed the beginning of Yahweh's beauty